Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Monday. We are back from an extended holiday break, and we've got 3 hours of sports talk coming your way this afternoon on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and, of course, in living color on our video streaming channels, YouTube at 580 Sports Talk and Facebook at WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thanks so much for being a part of the audience for 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Welcome back. Hope you all had an outstanding Thanksgiving. Hope you are all staying safe today. The road conditions are no joke. This storm, this winter storm that has moved in has packed quite a bit more punch than I think people maybe were expecting. And a bit of a treacherous trip up Huntoon Hill this morning for yours truly. But back in the booth, back in the capital city, enjoyed a little quick excursion out to see my folks, my side of the family out in Colorado for Thanksgiving. Enjoyed that very much. Hope you all enjoyed your Thanksgiving holidays as well, whether you spent them with family, friends, or just with yourself, whether you traveled or not. Hope you enjoyed the holiday, the extended time off, maybe a little time off from us. And now we're back on this Monday with 3 hours of sports talk coming your way. We're taking you up to 6 o'clock. We'll hand it off then to the K-State Sports Network from Learfield. K-State men's basketball back in action. First time since last Tuesday's loss at Indiana. The Wildcats will try to get back on the winning track, having lost 2 in a row after their fast start. They take on Bowling Green tonight, the Falcons. 7 o'clock tip at Bramlage Coliseum. Again, 6 o'clock pregame coverage. And there's plenty to get to in the intervening 3 hours. Lots happened over the Thanksgiving break, and we're going to break it all down here on today's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Once again, my name is Dan Lucero. I'm with you for the duration. Spencer Dupuis will be in for a little bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. So it's a whole lot of me, and I've got a whole lot of thoughts. So plenty to get to in these 3 hours. Starting with the Chiefs, who ruined your Thanksgiving, had the nerve to ruin your Thanksgiving by playing not real good football and losing to the Dallas Cowboys and putting their playoff chances in real, legitimate peril. They are now not better than a coin flip's chance to make the playoffs. They went into this week as better than a coin flip's chance. They are now down around, depending on which statistical model you prefer, about 40 to 45% chance to make the playoffs. They are 6-6. They are not getting any help from any of the teams playing the Bills, Chargers, or Jaguars. And it seems that all of the obstacles, self-inflicted and otherwise, that the Chiefs have placed in front of themselves with the belief, the well-founded belief, that Patrick Mahomes could get them over those obstacles, finally, they may have constructed an obstacle too big for even number 15 to climb. That was my takeaway from the Thanksgiving Day loss to the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to get into that here in just a little while. Plus, a quote from Andy Reid today and his media availability that it's not my favorite metaphor he's ever used. We're going to get into that here a little bit as well. We have some college football to get to. K-State is going bowling. It was an uninspired performance in the cold at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Don't believe me? Ask Chris Peterson analyzing the game on Fox Sports 1 or FS1. But K-State did what they had to do. They beat Colorado. They beat them by 10. They're going to a bowl. They get the extra practice. They get the extra game. They get a chance to finish what could have been a train wreck of a season with a winning record. That's all good. So why isn't anybody happy around Manhattan with Kansas State football? We'll get into that a little bit. KU is not going bowling. And boy, did they have every opportunity to. They were leading going into the fourth quarter and driving to take a 2-score lead. And then it all fell apart. And the end of Jalen Daniels' Kansas career marked by 2 back-breaking interceptions in the red zone in his final quarter of play at Kansas. It's a shame that his career, which is defined by his help in turning around Kansas football, ends in that fashion. But that's now 2 straight years without a bowl for Kansas. And next year's not looking real promising either, which begs the question, how much longer are the big money donors going to put up with 5-7? And what needs to change to make sure that this is merely a momentary plateau and not a ceiling for Kansas football under Lance Leipold? We'll get into that later in the show. Plus some college hoops. Mentioned we've got K-State back in action tonight. Did not play well last time we saw them, although Indiana is legit and Assembly Hall has always been a difficult place to play. Kansas State didn't really come out of the locker room and ended up getting blown out by the Hoosiers last Tuesday. How do they get right tonight against Bowling Green? KU's got a big one tomorrow. More about their matchup with UConn on tomorrow's show, but some promising news potentially about the return of Darren Peterson. And, oh, yeah, the Jayhawks went 3-0 without him at the Players Area Invitational. So we'll get into a little bit of college hoops as well. Plus some NFL talk, not NBA talk, not today. NFL talk on the program today. I am back to the belief that actually no NFL teams are good. None of them. Nobody's good. Nobody is good. We are 13 weeks in the NFL season. Who's your Super Bowl favorite? So let that question hang there for a little bit, because you probably don't have a real good answer to that question. I know I don't have a real good answer to that question. I am struggling to recall a season in which we were this far along without a clear-cut front runner. And I certainly cannot recall a season in my lifetime where the consensus top 5 teams in the league entering the season have all taken a pratfall to a varying degree. That's not to say they're all going to miss the playoffs. In fact, more of them will make it than not. But the Bills, Eagles, Lions, Chiefs, and Ravens are all in some form of crisis mode, right? Or have experienced some form of crisis mode this season if they are not currently experiencing it now. And the only team not really experiencing it is the Bills, because they just beat up on a Steeler team that frankly is a joke. So we'll talk some NFL. And, of course, our Monday guest is our NFL insider, Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated and SI.com. We'll get Matt's thoughts on the Chiefs' loss from Thanksgiving, the rest of the NFL Week 13 happenings, and a look ahead to what remains of the season. Plus, we want to hear from you. The text line is open. You are invited and encouraged to hit us up, 785-272-9429. Want to hear from you. Want to hear your thoughts on the Chiefs, K-State, KU. How was your Thanksgiving? You want to tell me about that? Go ahead, text the program. Want to hear from you today, 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the comments, the live chat on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. We're now 30 subscribers shy of our stretch goal of 900 subscribers, whereupon we will bring you 580 Sports Talk Idol. You're not going to want to miss that. You can make it happen. You got to get us to 900 subscribers. Who will be our hero today that gets us one step closer? Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. And if you're watching the program live from 3 to 6 Central Time, Monday through Friday, hop in that live chat. Say hello. Introduce yourself. Interact with me and the rest of the 580 Sports Talk crew, plus your fellow listeners as well. You know you have at least one thing in common with them, right? So hop on in to the chat and say hello. Looks like Mark and Paul and Vance are in the chat today. Some of our regulars, great to see you guys. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, and look forward to hearing from more of you throughout the show in our YouTube chat. You can also comment on the show if you're watching on Facebook at WIBW News. Let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost to the Cowboys 31-28 on Thanksgiving. Apologies. There was no instant reaction video on the YouTube channel, except I don't really apologize because it was Thanksgiving, right? Like we're all doing other stuff. That was, and this is the truth. The way that Thanksgiving dinner has always sort of timed itself out for the Lucero side of the family in Colorado, where I have spent all but 2 of the last 35 Thanksgivings. I'm trying to think when we moved to Colorado. 39. Moved to Colorado on 37 Thanksgivings. And I think I've spent all but 2 of them in Colorado. And the way things usually work, dinner is right at the start of the Cowboys game, because Cowboys always play second on Thanksgiving. Lions play first, Cowboys play second. Now, they moved the games back half an hour this year. They moved the times, so it was noon Central, 11 Mountain for the Lions game. And then it was the Cowboys game that followed also a half hour later than usual. But I had never sat down and watched the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game start to finish. I've never done it. Never in my life. That's eating time. And we are not a sit in front of the TV and eat family. We never have been. Your mileage may vary. Certainly, if you're a Cowboy fan, I'm sure you make the time and you make the exception. But we've never been a sit down in front of the TV and eat sort of Thanksgiving family. We did it at a restaurant my uncle owned for many, many years. There weren't any TVs in the joint anyway. So this was not an exception to the rule. We were in Colorado, Castle Rock, actually, for Thanksgiving. And I listened to the entire first quarter broadcast on the drive back from Castle Rock to where my parents live outside of Denver. And I watched the rest of the game from there, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And the thing I take away from that from the Chiefs' perspective, first and foremost, Patrick Mahomes was awesome. Like, that was as good as it gets for Mahomes. Under pressure, the way that he was. He faced a 35% pressure rate in that game. And look, Dallas has a good defensive line. They really do. They forfeited their edge rush pressure when they traded Micah Parsons. But their interior pass rush with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, pretty good. They can get after the quarterback. And they can especially get after the quarterback if you end up down 3 starters on the offensive line, which was the position where the Chiefs found themselves at the end of that game because Josh Simmons got hurt. We don't know how bad yet, but it doesn't sound good. And Jawan Taylor went out of the game, and they were already missing Trey Smith. That's a tough spot to put any team in football. There are teams in the league that can survive the loss of 1 starting offensive lineman. There are teams in the league that can survive the loss of 2 starting offensive linemen. But you take 3 of the 5 starters up front out of the picture, that is not a group that is going to play at a high level. It's not. No matter what team you look at. I am not going to sit here and rant and rave at Brett Veach for not having a better offensive lineman number 8. Nobody has a good offensive lineman number 8. That's the way it works. You got 5 who start. If you're lucky, you got 2 pluggers you can depend on as backup. Once you get down to number 8, it gets dicey. For the Chiefs, number 8 is Wanye Morris. Dicey. So I don't fault. That's bad luck, right? Injuries, part of football. You lose 3 offensive linemen over the course of one game. You start without one of them. You lose your bookends, your tackles over the course of a game. That's tough. That's tough. Nothing anybody can do about that. That's the sport. And accordingly, Mike Caliendo filling in at right guard and Jalen Moore at right tackle and Wanye Morris at left tackle, they stunk. They play like crap. There's no sugarcoating it. They were bad. And as a result, Patrick Mahomes was under siege in a way that he has rarely been in a game in his NFL career. And he was awesome. The throw he made on the run, tripped up, almost falling down. He hit Xavier Worthy down the field late in that game as they're trying to come back from a 2-score deficit. Absurd. Preposterous. There's one guy in the league who makes that play, and the Chiefs have him. Mahomes was brilliant. And not just brilliant under the circumstances. Brilliant, period. 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. Played a clean game, played a sharp game, threw accurately, threw with power, threw the ball down the field. Patrick Mahomes was awesome, and the Chiefs lost anyway. That doesn't happen. Typically, when Mahomes is brilliant, the Chiefs win. Not on Thanksgiving. And I think that was finally the clear sign that the obstacles that have mounted in front of the Chiefs, some of them the nature of the game, the sport, some of them the nature of the way the league is built to drag you towards mediocrity one way or another because of the draft, because of the salary cap. And yes, some self-inflicted wounds, some misplaced faith in certain players, some miscues in the draft, some poorly allocated free agent funds. All of these obstacles that the Chiefs have placed or that have been placed in front of the Chiefs might finally be too much for Patrick Mahomes to overcome. This current iteration of the Kansas City Chiefs, as we enter week 14 of the 2025 NFL season, they do not have a healthy offensive line. They do not have a starting caliber NFL running back. In fact, they have the worst running back room in the NFL. We've been saying it since week 2 or 3. It is still true, which has had the knock-on effect, for the record, of taking away all those deep balls that the Chiefs really wanted to throw this year. And they got the speed back in the wide receiver room, and they got Rashee Rice back, and said, we're going to throw it deep. We're going to be aggressive. And teams decide, all right, yeah, go. Good luck doing that with 2 high safeties, because we're not coming out of the same coverage that we've been playing, taking away the deep ball from Mahomes all these years. We're still going to take it away because we don't respect your running threat. And why would any team respect the running threat of the Kansas City Chiefs? The Chiefs do not have enough guys who can get open. Again, not entirely their fault. Xavier Worthy hasn't been 100% health-wise all year, I don't think. But Hollywood Brown is clearly a shell of his former self. We know Travis Kelce is who he is, a limited version of his former self. Just not a lot of guys who win at the line of scrimmage on offense. Not enough playmakers on that side of the ball. Defensively, the Chiefs do not get third down stops. Dallas murdered them on third down on Thanksgiving. 8 of 13, I believe. Easy conversions, too. And it didn't matter what Steve Spagnuolo was sending blitz-wise. They didn't get home. How often has a Steve Spagnuolo blitz been the reason for a third down stop, the reason for a turnover, the reason a game turned, or the reason the Chiefs could lock a game down? And now the blitzes don't get home because nobody in the front 4 gets home. They don't generate consistent pass rush, and that's everything in the modern NFL. If you don't get after the quarterback, there's only but so good you're going to be as a defense, and there's only but so good the Chiefs defense can be game over game. They don't get after the quarterback, and they don't, and they haven't. And they don't make big plays on defense. They don't make the splash plays. They don't get the 7-yard sack. They don't intercept the ball. They don't recover fumbles. And, oh, man, how the season could have changed if they'd have done one of those 2 things on Dallas's final 2 offensive plays of the field goal drive, ended up making it 31-21. Mike Edwards filling in for the injured Brian Cook, another injury that bothered the Chiefs that was directly costly on the 43-yard touchdown run they gave up because Cook wasn't where he was supposed to be. I don't think that big play happens if Cook is on the field. But on second down, Mike Edwards breaks on a ball and has a chance to intercept it, and Ashton Gelati has a chance to intercept on the redirect, and it falls to the turf. And then on third down, Trent McDuffie does the one thing that the Chiefs have been not successful doing throughout the entire season, and strips the ball from a ball carrier. And the ball lies on the turf, and there are 4 defenders. But Drew Tranquill can't pounce on it, can't move quickly enough to the ball, and the Cowboys are able to recover and get the 3 points and make it a 2-score game. And the Chiefs were unable to mount a serious challenge beyond that. Those are all, when you add them together, massive flaws for an NFL team. And some of these have been true for multiple years, right? Like, the thing about a healthy offensive line is a fairly new problem, but it's not the first time the Chiefs have found themselves wanting at offensive line. Gosh, last year, that was the story of the Super Bowl loss, right? Inability to get after the quarterback, it started to slip last year. It has completely tanked this year. Worst running back room in the NFL, that's been a problem for 2 years. Not enough guys to get open, that's been a problem. Lacking defensive playmaking, been a problem. But Patrick Mahomes and his greatness and this team's professionalism and this team's preparation and this team's game planning and this team's toughness have been enough to overcome that. Take you all the way back to when the Chiefs gave Mahomes the contract extension for the first time, right? They paid him as soon as they could pay him because, duh, they were always going to do that. But when you start to play the quarterback, you quit playing the game on easy mode. That was the term that we used. That easy mode in the NFL is elite quarterback on rookie contract. When you have that, you can build out the rest of the roster around that player. You can spend money on elite talent elsewhere because you're paying the elite quarterback relatively speaking, peanuts. Doesn't count a whole lot to the salary cap. You can build an all-around dominant roster. Chiefs were able to put that together. They had Mahomes, brilliant right away. They had Travis Kelce in his prime. They had Chris Jones in his prime. They went to back-to-back Super Bowls. Then they started paying Patrick Mahomes. Then a year after that, they traded Tyreek Hill. And ever since then, there have been obstacles in front of the Chiefs. They were no longer playing the game on easy mode. One year it might have been the offensive line. One year it was the worst receiving core we've ever seen that couldn't catch a cold. One year it was a leakier defense or a pass rush that didn't generate the number of sacks you'd like to see a pass rush generate. And they overcame them all to go to 3 straight Super Bowls and win 2 because number 15 was under center. But now the Chiefs are losing games when Mahomes is brilliant. And that kind of feels like the bottom falling out. The Chiefs have 5 games remaining in their season. Patrick Mahomes was very blunt after the Cowboys lost, says they got to win them all and hope for the best elsewhere. And that is true. This is not a team that controls its own destiny at any point. They need help. They need 5-0 and help. 4-1 ain't going to do it. You be 10-7. That's objectively a fine year. You go 10-7 with a bunch of one-score losses. You feel like, yeah, we were a pretty good football team that year. Won't matter. They're not going to be one of the 7 in the playoff field if they go 10-7. They need to win out. And you know they could. They got 5 games left. The hardest ones are all at home. Vegas will favor them in all 5 games. I can hear you replying, Vegas favored them against a lot of teams they haven't beaten this year. And that's true. But they'll be favored in all 5 of their games the rest of the way. And they may yet win out. But for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, it is clear that the Kansas City Chiefs are not fielding a championship caliber team. And whatever happens from this point forward, the mission has to be figuring out how that happened and making sure that for whatever remains of Patrick Mahomes' prime, it never happens again. We'll take our first break. We want your response in the YouTube live chat or on the text line, 785-272-9429. We're going to get Matt Verderame's thoughts, our NFL insider, here in just a little bit. Got the good, bad, ugly from the sports weekend that was. Lots of college sports to get to, lots of NFL to get to. What is wrong with you? Of course, we're just getting started on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Glad you're here on 580 WIBW. 3:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on this Monday afternoon. The days run together when you're on a little bit of a holiday break. Glad you're back from the holiday with us. Again, hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Chiefs loss notwithstanding. Some thoughts from the YouTube live chat. Again, you can visit us on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Watch the show live there each day. Paul asked, saw someone say earlier the Chiefs need to just win 8 straight games to make it to the Super Bowl, which is 100% accurate. But they even won 8 straight quarters of football this season. I mean, they did win 5 out of 6. They had that really good stretch early in the year. Offensive line was obviously healthier then. That was when they were just getting Rashee Rice back. That's the hook that keeps you coming back with this Chiefs team, right? Like, we've seen this group at their best still really good. And it'd be one thing if the Chiefs were getting blown out. Like, all of the things that I mentioned that are wrong with this team. They don't have a serious run threat. They don't have guys that win at the line of scrimmage. They don't force turnovers. They don't get sacks. And now the offensive line is a mash unit. All of those things, you say those things, oh my gosh, they must be getting drilled every week. Well, they lost by 3 to Dallas. Like, that's what's so frustrating. If they were out there getting their tails kicked every week, it'd be a lot easier to sort of face the reality of what it is that we're dealing with here with the Chiefs. But they're right there. Don't commit so many pass interference or illegal contact penalties, though I should point out that was a very friendly whistle for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. It was a very bad day for Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. I'm told funeral services for Trent McDuffie's reputation as a shutdown cornerback will be held later this week. I'll let you know. I'll pass along where, to send donations in lieu of flowers, things like that. Trent McDuffie and big wide receivers, yeah, it doesn't work. I got to move forward with Trent McDuffie as a really, really good slot corner. I don't know that I want Trent McDuffie on the outside if big receivers just going to bully him like that. He was an all-pro as a slot corner. Maybe find a way to keep him there moving forward. But Jalen Watson's outside corner, and he got the blues from George Pickens. The absolute blues. And, again, some raw whistles, I thought. It's like watching Shea Gilgeous-Alexander get a whistle in a home playoff game for the Thunder. It was ridiculous. But don't keep making the same mistakes. Like that's the bit that Andy Reid keeps coming back to. It's just 1 or 2 plays here and there. And you can look at the scoreboard and say, yeah, it is. But you can also watch the games play over play and say, yeah, you could be making those 1 or 2 plays. There's 120 snaps in a football game. That's a lot of opportunities to make plays. You don't take advantage of enough of those opportunities because you don't have enough playmakers. Who takes the ball away on defense? Who gets sacks? Who makes explosive plays happen other than Mahomes? Not enough guys. Not enough guys. And it's that old, the old bit of theology from Sunday school, or that question you used to get in Sunday school. When you're a kid and you're messing around, could God make a pizza so big that even he couldn't eat it? Something like that. This is going to really come off as a sacrilegious thing. So I'm going to tie it back to Mahomes. This is the question with Mahomes, right? How many battles can you put in his face? How many obstacles can you put in his face and have him not able to overcome them? Well, I think we're at the limit. I think we hit the limit because he was awesome on Thursday, and it didn't matter. The Chiefs lost anyway. We'll take a break. We'll come back with Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by our NFL insider, Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He also appears on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network and has his own subscriber-only Patreon you should check out, the Matt Verderame Show. You can catch him every Monday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. And Matt, I'm curious if you think this is a bit of an oversimplification when we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, who, after their loss to the Cowboys, are now 6-6 on the season. It feels like there is just now finally, they built the mountain too high for Patrick Mahomes to climb. That after years of having Mahomes be able to overcome a lot of the flaws and a lot of the obstacles that the Chiefs have either placed in front of themselves or had placed in front of him, this year there's just too much for them to overcome because he was awesome on Thursday and the Chiefs lost anyway, and that never happens.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an oversimplification. Look, I mean, they have found every conceivable way to beat themselves this year. I believe it's now in 4 of their 6 losses. They've taken double-digit penalties. They have had picks in the end zone, picks at the goal line, some of which are on Mahomes, some that aren't. They have been a disaster in certain games defensively on third down. That reared its ugly head in a big way against Dallas. Look, I agree with you. Mahomes was spectacular on Thanksgiving. You couldn't ask him to play better. It's impossible. And they still couldn't win because they can't get off the field. And they can't get off the field because they have no pass rush. They just cannot get any pass rush, which, listen, is really alarming when you consider that they're paying 2 guys $50+ million a year combined. And they can't do anything as a pass rush. Now, Jones, I thought, has played pretty well this year. Karlaftis has been fine. But nobody else can do anything. I mean, Mike Dannett, for an example, this year, he's been a full-time player for them. He has 4 tackles. He has 4 tackles this entire season. That's impossible. There are offensive players in the NFL that have 4 tackles this season. So, when you combine that, a couple of drops, I feel like the offensive scheme this year has been very bizarre. They put themselves in a position now where they are facing a very, very tall task.
What happened to the defense this year? 2 years ago, it felt like it was the best unit that they'd ever constructed with Mahomes as the quarterback. It helped get them over the line and win that Super Bowl. It was still solid last year. This year, I think it was something that people really weren't talking about before Thursday's loss, but they just haven't been very good. And the main culprit has been the pass rush. What, in your mind, has been the main culprit for this defense is taking a step back this year?
I think Justin Reed really matters a lot. Like, he was the captain of that defense intellectually. And that doesn't mean that there aren't smart players. Nick Bolton's a very smart player. Chris Jones, very smart player. There are other guys. But Justin Reed was really the captain of that secondary. And losing him, I think they've lost. First of all, he was a great blitzer. Second of all, they've blown a lot of coverages this year. I don't think that would happen with Justin Reed back there. Which is part of the reason why, and I'm wrong. Listen, I'm wrong as much as the next guy. I really thought they should have paid him over Nick Bolton, and I feel that way very, very strongly now. The other problem is we both talked about, guys, they just can't get home. I mean, if you can't win ever with 4 guys, you're going to have a problem on defense against good offense. Like this week, they could probably blitz and get away with it because Houston has Nico Collins and like nobody else. But when you play good if they play the Chargers and they can never get home with 4 guys, Herbert's going to toast them. He is. Like, it's just going to happen. And that is the difference. When they beat the Eagles that year, the Eagles had 70 sacks. The Chiefs were second in the NFL that year in sacks. I believe, and somebody could double check me, I believe they were second in sacks the year they beat the Niners. Like, when you just can never get home with a pass rush, you're screwed. And by the way, you know what else is finding out that this year? Philly, who cannot get any pressure without Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. And guess what's happening? They're getting killed by some of these teams that can really throw the football. Like, that's the NFL in 2025. The Chiefs this offseason, their 1, 2, and 3 priorities are finding a way to get home with a 4-man pass rush.
Matt Verderame is our NFL insider, Sports Illustrated, SI.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Chiefs have to win out and get help to make the playoffs. They've got 5 games left, starting with the Texans on Sunday. They've got also at home the Chargers and Broncos. They go to Tennessee and Vegas in Week 18. What is the % chance you put on the Chiefs winning out? Never mind making the playoffs. Chances that the Chiefs can win out their next 5 games. What's the % chance you'd put on that?
A normal team, I would sit here and tell you, 10%. Them, with that schedule, look, I guess here's how I look at it. If they don't win those 2 games on the road, they should be relegated from the NFL. So it's really like, what chance do you give them of winning the 3 home games? I mean, the way this team's been this year, 1-3, like maybe I'd even go to like 40% because 2 of those games are ridiculous. Like if they can't win on the road against the Raiders and Titans, they should give up. So it's really the other 3 games. Look, there's a world, by the way, they can win 2 of those 3 games and make the playoffs. That isn't that crazy. Like the Chargers, they have to beat the Chargers, and the Chargers have to lose 3 of their other 4 games, which on the surface you go, oh, okay, yeah, right. The Chargers had the hardest 5 games left in the NFL. I mean, they play the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Broncos, the Chiefs. Like, they could absolutely lose 3 of their other 4 games, especially with everything going on with them health-wise. But I think, look, to get in the playoffs is probably slightly below 50%, which is pretty much where every model has them. So actually, just full-blown win out, which if they do that, they're going to get in. I'd probably put it at like 1 out of 3.
Moving to the rest of the NFL, Week 13, wrapping up with Monday Night Football tonight. Matt, I think we're back around after we saw the Lions lose at home on Thanksgiving and the Rams lose to the Panthers and the Bills struggle for a half before beating a completely inept Steelers team. Are we back around to thinking there aren't any good teams in the NFL in 2025?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, like, whoever wins the Super Bowl this year is going to be it might be the weakest champion I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think there are some years, seriously, whoever wins the Super Bowl this year will lose in the wild card round in some other seasons that I've covered and watched. Like, I still think it's probably the Rams who are the best team, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams lost in decisive fashion in the playoff game. Like, even in a wild card game. Like, if they played, pick a team, I don't know, Dallas in a 2-7, they could lose that game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And that's kind of why, not to go back, but like why the Chiefs season has been so frustrating for a lot of Chiefs fans, because you look at the league, think to yourself, if they just got in the playoffs, they could win the Super Bowl. They could be a 7 seed and win the Super Bowl because look around. But that's where this league is. I mean, we all spent a month and a half debating of the Colts for real and how good are they. Guys, I got to tell you, the Colts might miss the playoffs. Like, we talked about the Chargers 5 games being hard. The Colts are right there with them. I mean, the Colts have a really hard schedule. You know, you look at Buffalo, you believe in the quarterback, but almost nothing else. And Cook. Cook is excellent. The Pats very well might be the 1 seed. I don't know if the Pats are even that good. Like, they've beaten nobody all year long. But then again, you look at it and say, well, who could they beat that would prove anything? Who would it be? Who's the team? You know, I mean, I like Seattle, but you worry about Darnold. He's not been great recent weeks. I mean, there is just so many teams. Denver, love the defense, but that offense, my God, like I don't trust that team in a big spot. So, yeah, I think the one thing that's going to be fun this year about the NFL playoffs, anything's on the table. Anything. You pick the team. They could lose in the first round. They could go to the Super Bowl.
The path to the Super Bowl in both conferences, if the season were to end today, would go through Denver in the AFC. They have the tiebreaker for now over New England. And Chicago in the NFC. They've got the tiebreaker over the Rams. You just mentioned, you talked about the Broncos a little bit. They were fortunate to escape with a 1-point win last night in overtime over Washington. Chicago is 9-3. I don't know a soul around who believes in them as that kind of a team. But how good are the Bears, really? Feels like we haven't really talked about them much at all. And here they are atop what we thought might be the best conference or the best division maybe in football this year. Do you think that they have made real substantial strides this season, or are they just a team kind of like New England and Denver that we think is benefiting from a softer schedule?
Well, I think both things are true. They've definitely made strides from where they were a year ago. I also think they're going to get bull raced in a playoff game. I think some team is going to play them that has real chops, that's just going to say, that's nice. You're not going to run the ball. and we're going to hang 30 on your defense, and Caleb Williams has to be this. And, like, look, again, because of how the league is this year, the Bears could win a playoff game. They could do that. But I don't think you'll get the Bears, they're overwhelming, right? But again, everybody keeps talking about how the NFC is stronger than the AFC. Is it? Who's good at it? Like, the Rams, I think are good. Seattle, again, I like. The quarterback scares me. Philadelphia should be good, but I think now has just proven they're like on Chernobyl watch at this point. Like, I don't know what's going on with Philadelphia. Love the Packers some weeks, can't stand them other weeks. Yeah, so like I think the Bears are a good team. I don't think the Bears are a team that's going to be in Santa Clara. I would be shocked if that's the case.
A couple more questions for Matt Verderame, our NFL insider here on 580 Sports Talk. We were talking about a little bit earlier. It feels like the teams that we all thought were going to be the best, the cream of the crop in the NFL, they've all pratfallen to a certain degree. The Chiefs, obviously. The Bills have problems. The Lions are right now out of the playoff picture. You brought up the Eagles. The Ravens are 6-6. They got smacked down by Cincinnati on Thanksgiving night. Couldn't do anything against one of the worst defenses, and this is not an exaggeration, in NFL history. Is that
right?
Is that just a situation in need of a hard reset? What has gone most wrong to you with Baltimore this year, who, again, still might win that division by default?
I think the Ravens, it's a few things. Like, number one, okay, I think, frankly, some have grossly overestimated the talent that team has in the passing game. Like, love Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is terrific. Nobody else can catch a pass on Baltimore. Rashad Bateman's done nothing after having a nice year last year. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely combined are an average tight end, statistically speaking. Like, they don't do much. And so you can shut that passing game down. You love what Henry brings to the table on the run game. But here's the other problem, guys. Jackson can't move. Like, if you look at Lamar Jackson, he's clearly not healthy. He's not right. His hamstring's not right. He's not rushing for any real yardage. And when that guy can't use his leg, it's like taking Josh Allen's legs out of Buffalo's attack. Like, it changes everything. You defend them completely differently. Like, if Josh Allen had a calf injury and just had to stand in the – you may remember about a decade ago, the Packers got in the playoffs that 1 year and Rodgers was really limited. He couldn't move. And teams just basically said, okay, great, we're going to drop everybody because you can't run, you can't move. We're going to take that away. I think that's part of it. But I do think Baltimore – look, the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, there are real questions for all those teams this offseason. Like, they're all going to have to sit there and look in the mirror and start figuring out what needs to be different. Because I don't think any of those teams are going to feel good about bringing back a majority of their players this offseason.
Last one for you, Matt. Got about 30 seconds here. Beyond it's football, and you only get but so much football in your life, so enjoy it while it's there. Give me one good reason to watch Patriots-Giants tonight on Monday Night Football.
Oh, God. I mean, what the hell else is there to do?
Drake May. He might be getting close to being the kind of guy you tune in to watch, I suppose, if you haven't gotten to see him. Yeah, we'll go with that. Matt Verderame is our NFL insider on 580 Sports Talk. Covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. That Football Show on the KC Sports Network, and go subscribe to his Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show. Matt, always a pleasure. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you again next week.
Same to you. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll take a quick time out. We'll come back. We will wrap up this opening hour of 580 Sports Talk for a Monday here on WIBW. You know what that means? Time for the good and the bad and the ugly from the long weekend that was. First, the good. Let's start with a salute to state champions across the state of Kansas in football. It's a great weekend of state title games. Congratulations to the champions from 6A on down to 6-man. That would be Manhattan, Salina Central, Cape and Mount Carmel. Salute to Weston Sharts, all-time coaching great in the state of Kansas, first ever state championship. Sterling in Class 1A. I'm going, I guess, upwards now. Andale in 3A. Another one for Nemaha Central in 2A. South Central in 8-player Division 1. Hanover in 8-player Division 2. And Cunningham in 6-man. And a salute, of course, to our local squads, Hayden and Rossville, for great seasons that ended in state championship game defeat. Also good this weekend, my DePauw University Fighting Tigers, moving on in the Division 3 football playoffs, beat Wisconsin Whitewater on Saturday in the snow up in Wisconsin, 26-23. My Tigers take on Wheaton next Saturday in the third round of the Division 3 playoffs. My bad, Max Brosmer, the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, took over for J.J. McCarthy. You thought there's no way anybody could be worse at quarterbacking than J.J. McCarthy. Yes, there is. Max Brosmer threw 4 interceptions. The Vikings were shut out by the Seahawks. Threw one hilarious underhand interception on a 4th and 1 from like the 2-yard line that ended up going back 84 yards for a touchdown. It was that kind of game for old Max. And the ugly, the entire Lane Kiffin saga, we'll get to that more in headlines, but the way that's all been handled from the Kiffin side of it to the media side of it has been really, really gross. Makes you wonder why you even like college football at all. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to talk some college football. K-State's going bowling. KU is not. Plus, what is wrong with you? Next hour on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. My name is Dan Lucero. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. 2 more hours to hang out today. At 6 o'clock, we'll hand things off to the K-State Sports Network for some Wildcat men's basketball. K-State back at the Octagon tonight to take on Bowling Green. Tip off at 7 o'clock, which means pregame at 6 here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We will air Chiefs Kingdom in its entirety following the conclusion of the K-State basketball broadcast. So you're hoping to hear from Mitch Holtis tonight. You'll still get to do so. It'll just be following K-State hoops. They have moved the Chiefs Kingdom show tonight. It will not be at an area Hy-Vee. Apparently, they're getting a little snow in the Kansas City area too. I don't know what kind of snow they've gotten out in Manhattan. I haven't done a deep dive into the forecast and the snow totals, but hopefully the weather permits some folks to get out and support Jerome Tang's Kansas State Wildcats tonight in their return home to play the Falcons of Bowling Green. I know students will turn out. They typically do. But might be a tough drive in. I'll tell you, I did not expect that kind of snow today. You guys know our studio's up on Huntoon Hill here in the northwest side of Topeka, up on the hill on Huntoon, just beyond the overpass for 470 there. And I have been working here since 2016, September 2016, and I've had the same vehicle the entire time. I've had a Dodge Charger. Bought it in 2015. It was already a couple years old at that point, and I've had it ever since. Running reliably. I'm a big believer. I treat cars like socks. I'm gonna wear them till they get a hole in them. Right? That's kind of how I feel about cars. I'm gonna drive it till it gets a hole in it. Anyway, I have never come closer to not making it up the hill than I did today. And we've had some bad weather days. So you guys know it's part of living in Kansas. You get the bad weather, you get the snow. Sometimes the plows don't get out right away, or sometimes they're maybe caught off guard, like they kind of were today, to be honest. But I've never come closer to not making it up that hill into the building than I did today. It was touch and go, but we did. Got up the hill, me and my old car, and we are safely ensconced behind the mic and bringing you 580 Sports Talk on this day. So, I'm glad to be here. Hope you're glad to be along. Want to hear from you on the show. The text line is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can text the program today. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your concerns, or your snow reports. Have a texter from 785 tells us they got about 4 inches in St. Mary's today. I think that's probably about where we're at, 4 to 5. I had read 1 to 3. So sometimes, you know, the snow falls a little harder than they anticipate. Sometimes you get more than you think. Balances out all the times you get less, right? So the text line again, 785-272-9429. You can also get at us on the YouTube live chat. Go check out the show on YouTube. You're stuck inside today, right? You're not driving around. There's no snow. You're probably home from work. Maybe your job got called off today, or your school was an early dismissal. I don't know. You're hanging out at home. Go check out the YouTube chat. 580 Sports Talk, name of the channel. Go subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. Subscribe to the channel for all our great video content. And when you're in the live chat, say hello and interact with our fellow listeners today. Christopher's in the live chat today and points out that we did a little something today on our Facebook page, WIBW News, and our X account, 580 Sports Talk on X, the Everything app. Everything happens on X. Be Elon Musk's best friend, please, on X. We have released our high school basketball schedule for the season. And it's a funny time to do it because it might be a false start. We got a game lined up for tomorrow. If it gets played, if there's school, they'll play. Is there going to be school? We don't know. But we are planning on bringing you our first high school basketball broadcast of the 2025-26 season. Yeah, it's that quick on the turnaround. Friday, we had a high school football state championship game. Tuesday, basketball. Boom. Here it is. Ready or not. The seasons change. time for basketball. We are planning to bring you our first Tuesday Night Hoops broadcast of the season from Seaman High School tomorrow night. It's the Seaman Vikings and Lady Vikes welcome Piper for a couple of marquee early season United Kansas Conference showdowns. Both the boys and girls teams at Seaman and Piper are ranked in the KBCA preseason top 10 in Class 5A. Seaman girls, of course, coming off of back-to-back appearances in the state championship game. Piper boys were a Final Four team last year. Piper girls were a state team. So some good basketball, we hope, tomorrow night. Myself and Larry Latimer bringing you the action for another season of high school basketball on 580 WIBW. For the rest of the schedule, go check out our Facebook page, WIBW News. Go check out our X account, formerly Twitter, 580 Sports Talk on X, and you can see the schedule in all its glory. We're very excited about the schedule this year. We're broadening our reach a little bit. For the first time, we're going to bring you a regular season game from Care Paravel. We've got some regular season games from Silver Lake and Rossville this year. They've been great to us. We're excited to get out a little bit more into Shawnee County, plus your typical great city matchups as well as they occur and as we can bring them to you throughout the season on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So, Christopher, thank you for the segue. Thank you for being a pro and leading me to that bit of information. And, of course, you can go to our website, 580WIBW.com, to listen to all of those games and to check out the Pigskin and Hoops basketball previews. They will all be up. All 28 of our area schools will be up by tomorrow morning. We're finishing up the last of them, and we're going to get them up all on the website. And right now, you can read the previews for all 8 of the city teams, plus the area Big East teams that we cover. So Holton, Jeff West, Silver Lake, Rossville, Royal Valley. I'm going to leave a school or two out. Perry Compton. There are 16 previews up right now. We got 12 more to publish. We'll get them all published. They'll all be up tomorrow for the first day of the high school basketball season. The Pigskin and Hoops preview. It's on the front page of our website, 580WIBW.com. Let's talk some college football, shall we? Saturday, Bill Snyder Family Stadium, it looked miserable. I was in Colorado for Thanksgiving. We came back a day early. We didn't want to mess around with the chance of weather on Saturday, which I hate to do that. You know, my parents only get about so much time with a grandson, right? And I hated to take him home a day early. But looking at the weather forecast, the chance of wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour through western Kansas did not sound like a fun thing to drive through on Saturday. So we left on Friday. It was an easy drive on Friday. I'm glad we left on Friday. It was raining a little bit by the time we got into Topeka, but we made the right call. Anyway, Saturday, it did not look a lot of fun to be at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. So the crowd shots coming out of halftime, Bill kind of looked like a ghost town. And I hate that on senior day, regardless of where the program's at. Because I understand. Look, it's 11 o'clock. Colorado stinks. It's not been the year you expected for Kansas State. I'm not here to fan shame anybody who decided that the trip to go sit in frigid weather, it was snowing during the senior day festivities, or to remain in the stadium past halftime after a fairly boring first 30 minutes of football. I'm not here to blame or fan shame anyone for the decision that they made. It does always make me sad, no matter what the weather conditions or the season you've had. I like to see a bigger crowd for senior day because I think the seniors deserve that. But again, I understand. Sometimes the circumstances are the circumstances. Anybody who stuck it out for all 60 minutes of that game, God love you. That did not look like it was any fun to be outdoors. And you were not exactly rewarded with an inspiring effort by the home team. It must be said. Gosh, Chris Peterson on the broadcast for FS1 was saying it at halftime, saying he felt like Kansas State was uninspired. I certainly do not think they were the more inspired team in the first half. If you had watched that first half with only the knowledge that one team was playing for bowl eligibility, you might have thought it was Colorado. The way they came out, the way they defended the run for Kansas State in that first 30 minutes, the way they put together that 2-minute drill drive to tie the game at 7 going into the locker room. But Kansas State got back on the rails in the second half, put together a couple of really good drives. Joe Jackson got going to the tune of 146 rushing yards. And the defense, I thought, was good for all 60 minutes. A couple of bad penalties, wiped out third down and fourth down stops. That's been a problem all season, unfortunately. The drive that happened at the end of the first half, not great tackling on that drive. So certainly not an A-plus performance for Joe Klanderman's defense. But I thought, by and large, that was a really good defense performance against a team you probably ought to hold to about 14 points. That's about where Colorado was coming in, roughly averaging down the stretch of the season. And K-State did their job and got something going on offense and scored late to put the game away. And they won the game 24-14, and they're going to a bowl. That's 6 wins for K-State. You get the valuable extra practices that come with it. Another opportunity to maybe see some guys that you've redshirted or you've held below the 4-game minimum threshold. Maybe get to see them in game situations, see how things go for them coming up in whatever bowl game it is that Kansas State makes. That's about the only thing good that comes from the end of the season. It is fair, and I think correct, to credit the Wildcats players and coaches, because when that season was at 1-3, or when that season was at 2-4 after the loss at Baylor, and everything that this season had been geared towards achieving was no longer achievable at that point. You weren't going to go to the college football playoff. You weren't going to play for a Big 12 championship. Everything you wanted to do this year, everything that felt possible, everything, frankly, that I and a lot of other people believed would happen for Kansas State football in 2025. That was gone by the midway point. Gone. Irretrievable. Wasn't happening. Realistically, it was probably gone at 1-3. I know record-wise, they had the opportunity to get back in the Big 12 mix, but the schedule was never going to allow that. They lost 2 games following the Baylor game. They were both the teams ranked in the top 15. That's how it goes. They could have folded the tents. They could have called it good. We talked about the possibility of that happening on this show. We talked about it with Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com, that in the current era of college football, there is always the risk that when everything you hope to achieve is out the window, you go into Ricky Watters mode. Remember Ricky Watters? Great, and maybe great's a stretch, but a really good NFL player for a really long time. Played for the Eagles, played for the Seahawks, Notre Dame before that. Very good running back. When he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, there was a play where he got booed because he ran a route over the middle of the field, and he didn't exactly extend himself trying to catch the ball with a defender bearing down on him. And he was asked about it after the game. Why didn't you go all out for that ball? And Ricky Watters' answer was, for who? For what? And that stuck with Ricky Watters the rest of his career. Stuck with him the rest of his time in Philadelphia. For who? For what? In modern college football, you get to a point where you show up on a campus, your expectation is to play a bunch, to win a bunch. And at Kansas State, the expectation this year was play for a conference championship and win it. Get to the college football playoff. They were a preseason ranked team. That was the expectation. Those were the goals. Those were gone by midseason. Those were gone as soon as Luis Rodriguez's field goal was blocked at the end of the Baylor game. And it would have been really, really easy for a lot of guys on that roster to have followed Dylan Edwards' lead and say, for who? For what? Play hard? Waste a year of eligibility? For who? For what? They didn't. They didn't. That speaks highly of the respect they have for the coaching staff. It speaks highly of the culture of the football team. It reflects well on the leadership of the football team that they didn't, that they faced adversity and they made what they could out of this 2025 season. Not what anybody wanted, but they made something. 6-6 in a trip to Shreveport. That may only be chicken salad, but when you're working with chicken something else, if that's what you made out of it, that's something. It is. It's not nothing. So I commend this group of players and I commend the coaches for being able to right the ship as best as they were capable of doing. Doesn't mean they played great football. Doesn't mean they played inspired football for stretches of the final half of the season. It certainly doesn't mean that the coaches get off scot-free. You have to make changes after a year where you fall so flat, where you fall so short of expectations. I believe that's true. I think that Kansas State's bar should be higher than 6-6. This has proven to be the floor for Chris Kleiman. If you throw out the COVID year, which I think every program should, this is the floor, 6-6. It's the worst they've been. Again, throwing out the COVID year. Which is why I believe that Chris Kleiman should be the person that gets to make the changes and not a victim of changes made. I think Chris Kleiman should continue as the football coach at Kansas State unless he decides he's too worn down by the gig, decides he's had enough. I don't have any insight that that is even remotely a part of Chris Kleiman's thinking other than how clearly and obviously worn down he seemed in that press conference at the end of the Utah game. Felt like the weight of the world was on that man's shoulders. And look, Chris Kleiman's done a lot in college football. He's won a lot of games. He's won championships at the FCS level. I know he's dealt with some off-the-field adversity in his personal life that, isn't really public knowledge or even, the kind of thing that I'm kind of winking with you guys and like, I know, but I can't tell you. I don't know. I only know what everybody else knows. The allusion to some personal difficulties behind the scenes that Kleiman was dealing with into last season. If Chris Kleiman decides he doesn't want to be the coach of Kansas State anymore, I would understand. I understand why coaches walk away. I'm not interested in making martyrs out of coaches who decide that the modern era of college football or college athletics as a whole is just too much for them and not something they want to deal with. I don't like making martyrs or heroes out of those coaches, but I don't blame any of those coaches for making the decisions that they make. There is an idea or a line of thinking, more accurately, that Chris Kleiman is too loyal, and it's part of why Kansas State has ended up in the situation where they have underachieved the last two seasons. That's fair. That is a fair and accurate criticism of Kansas State football under Chris Kleiman, that since winning the Big 12 championship in 2022, they have underachieved. I think they came in about where you would have expected them to come in 2023. Given everything, they've underachieved the last 2 years. Absolutely, they have. And some are critical of Chris Kleiman's loyalty, thinking maybe he's too loyal to certain assistants. That may well be true. But this is also a guy who fired his best friend in the world, Courtney Messingham, as his offensive coordinator following the 2021 season. Does he have the stomach to fire another lifelong friend at offensive coordinator? Because, again, you underwhelm and you underachieve for 2 straight years. If you're going to stay the head coach, you have to make changes around you. That's the nature of the beast. That's not a fun conversation, I'm sure, for Gene Taylor to have friend to friend with Chris Kleiman, but athletic director to coach, that's the conversation you have to have. It's a conversation they had last year in Tucson when Brent Brennan came into Arizona, and that team had expectations even with the coaching change, and they fell flat last year. Brent Brennan was essentially told, you got to overhaul this coaching staff. You got to fire some guys you brought with you from San Jose State because this ain't working. And either you fire these guys or you're not coming back as head coach. Brent Brennan fired those guys. Brent Brennan made changes. Arizona won 9 games this year. 9 games. Finished in the top 25. Nobody saw that coming. So change would be good. Change, I think, is necessary for Kansas State in the coaching ranks. But there's more than that that's needed for Wildcat football in what feels like an era and a moment. Era is probably overselling it again, but a moment of discontent, disenchantment among Kansas State fans. And again, this is where I get uncomfortable because I didn't grow up in it. I didn't attend the university. I don't like to tell people how to be a fan or what's appropriate to expect from your favorite team. I have no idea how good Kansas State should be on a year-by-year basis. I know I feel like they shouldn't feel like they're immune from a year where stuff doesn't go right. You go 6-6. There are a lot of much more prominent, much wealthier college football programs who would have killed for 6-6 this year. Killed for it. Didn't get there. But I don't think Kansas State's above 6-6. in the sense that it is going to be possible for Kansas State to have down years. This is not and is not ever going to be a plug-and-play 10-win program. Even in the new Big 12, not how it works. Two reasons. One is geography, and the other is money. And Chris Kleiman said as much, and if you thought it was maybe bad form to say as much in the final press conference of the regular season, I understand your point. But he made the argument that there just aren't the resources at Kansas State that there are in other places in the Big 12 and elsewhere to be the kind of program that it seems like the Kansas State fan base wants their program to be. And again, I'm not telling you, if you're a K-State fan, that you're wrong to have expectations. I'm not telling you that you're wrong to be disappointed, even frustrated, even stronger emotions about how this season went. You had high hopes and they were dashed. That sucks. That's the worst feeling you can have as a sports fan, is when you have high hopes and you don't get there and you don't get close. We've all, no matter who we root for, we've all lived something like that. And it's not fun. But flatly, Kansas State does not have the NIL resources of other teams in the program. They don't have a Cody Campbell or a David Booth who's going to write them a big fat check and keep the money coming into the program. They don't have a Boone Pickens. So there are going to be years where things go like this because, as Kleiman pointed out in his postgame, we didn't have another Jace Brown when Jace Brown got hurt. We didn't have another Austin Romaine when Austin Romaine got hurt. They've got to do better in recruiting. They've got to get more playable depth. Things are all true. But Kansas State is not immune to 6-6. And they're not ever going to be immune to a season like this. That program spent its entire history looking for a Bill Snyder. They made one of those. I happen to think a guy who wins the conference at Kansas State has proven he ought to be the guy to get chances to fix 6-6. Because there's only been 3 guys who ever won a conference championship at Kansas State in the whole entire history of football in that program. 3 guys. Chris Kleiman's one of them. So I'm still a believer in Chris Kleiman. I do think the job has gotten hard on him. I think the job has gotten harder. I think they are facing a bit of an uphill climb to meet fan base expectations, given the limitations that exist in the NIL space. Speaking of that, Kansas State made a big announcement. And when I say made a big announcement recently, I mean, I got the press release at the top of this hour that they are making some changes to NIL. They're bringing Wildcat NIL in-house effectively and giving fans, alumni, an opportunity, more opportunities to contribute to NIL funds. There's a new subscriber service, Cats Plus, that will be rolled out. I'll get to this more in headlines because we got to get to what is wrong with you. We got to get to a break here. But feels like K-State fan base expectations for their program are a little higher right now than what realistically they feel capable of producing. And I don't necessarily think that's bad because you have to recalibrate one or the other. And Kansas State, to me, feels like the kind of athletic department that is not going to ask its fans to recalibrate to lower their expectations. I think there is an embrace of expectation to win in the athletic department in Manhattan. But it's going to have to start with some changes on that football coaching staff. I don't know how extensive. I don't know who exactly is going to have to go. Obviously, what they were doing offensively didn't work. Probably start with a pretty keen eye on why they were such a mess offensively all year. Why did Avery Johnson regress? Why wasn't the offensive line any good? Why has the secondary struggled in recent years with NFL athletes, NFL talent in the secondary? Why have they not been real good? Why did they stop developing pros in the trenches both ways? Got to answer those questions. Get the program going back in the right direction because 6-6 is the floor. That's really good. A lot of programs wish 6-6 were their floor. But you're not careful, that floor is going to start to dip. We got to take that break. What is wrong with you's coming up next. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk. So what is wrong with you? Time on 580 Sports Talk. It's our first one of the month of December. And joining us to play along today, Spencer Dupuis. Hi, Spencer.
Hello. I should probably turn on the mic to speak.
That helps. How was your Thanksgiving, pal?
It was good. Had steak once again. I think when it's just two people, getting a turkey is just a lot.
Well, there's leftovers, man. That's what leftovers are for. Turkey soup, turkey sandwiches.
But even then, leftovers gets to be I'd still have food today and I'd be all turkeyed out.
Okay. I understand. I understand your argument.
Two people is just not enough, I think, to go full Thanksgiving feast.
I get it.
Instead went steak, potato, salad, mac and cheese, had some cheesecake.
Okay.
To wound out the night.
We're pretty traditional Thanksgiving folks at the Lucero Thanksgiving. We don't do a lot of out there sides or anything that Jake's thing was always baked beans. Ugh. Beans were a big part of their Thanksgiving meal, and that always made me laugh. But now we're pretty traditional. The Lucero family Thanksgiving, pretty traditional as those things go.
Yeah, so we kind of stopped going traditional a few years ago, and even when I was able to go home for Thanksgiving, it was pretty easy to get home and back where I was. We would go to a fancy restaurant or something and get there, because it was just a lot of effort to make the meal. And
yeah, no, I get it. We crowned a November champion. In case you missed it, the final week of November, we did crown a November champion. The fight promoter parent advances to the December Tournament of Failed Champions. Hey, December, that's this month. The fight promoter parent joins, deep breath, in reverse order, $900 at Fuddruckers, The Fragrant Felons, Operation Bear Claw, Winnebango, Give Me a Tip or I Empty the Clip, The Cool Mom, 35 Minutes of Freedom, Meth Cannon, The Double D Drunk Driver, and The Fascist Falconer as our 11 entries into the Tournament of Failed Champions. We got to induct one more. We'll pick them out in the month of September. So we got December. So we got two new stories today. I'll start with mine. Guy beat the hell out of a Cybertruck. St. Petersburg, Florida man accused of stealing a Tesla Cybertruck while on a test drive and causing approximately $20,000 in damages to the vehicle. According to a criminal affidavit, 26-year-old Richelle Valdivia agreed to test drive a 2025 Cybertruck for 30 minutes from a dealership in St. Petersburg. The report says Valdivia never returned the vehicle, instead keeping it for approximately 2 days. An assistant manager at the Tesla dealership found the stolen Cybertruck at his home. The vehicle had been seriously damaged and the dealer tag had been removed. The damage included a smashed rearview mirror, a missing GPS monitor, and a detached sun visor on the driver's side. The front fender flares had been partially torn off. Small rocks and a pair of men's underwear were found inside the flares. There was video footage from the Cybertruck showing Valdivia striking the rearview mirror multiple times, destroying the rearview camera and shattering the mirror's glass. Valdivia was arrested and faces charges of grand theft of a motor vehicle and criminal mischief. I will say this, though, for Valdivia's part, if you've read the news, people are dying in those Teslas. Maybe he just thought he had to get it before it got him.
I guess so.
People are out here, getting locked in burning Teslas and dying. So, maybe Mr. Valdivia said, nah, man, I'm going to sit in this death trap. I'm going to get it before it gets me. Your story today, Spencer.
Yeah, kind of close to here. I don't know how far away, but relatively close to here. Not in Florida. We're going to St. Charles, Missouri.
Okay. That's not really close. That's near St. Louis.
It's still relatively close.
Okay, relatively. Yeah, relative to Florida. Yeah, sure.
After being arrested for breaking into a Circle K store at 2:15 a.m., we're going to go back to the end of November, and stealing a bag of beef jerky, an Illinois man told police, quote, "I know you are going to think I'm crazy, but there's an AI intelligence speaker in my neck," according to court records.
Yep, we sure do. Has anybody ever started a sentence, "I know you're going to think I'm crazy," and then ended it by saying something that was not, in fact, absolutely bug guts crazy?
Nope.
Yeah, probably not. Go ahead.
Police charged that Cole Bertels, 33, kicked in the front glass door of the convenience store in St. Charles and then climbed into the locked business and, quote, proceeded to eat a bag of beef jerky and drink a sweet tea that he did not pay for, end quote. When cops arrived at the Circle K, he was detained and asked about the break-in, reportedly confessed, saying that the, quote, voices in his head told him to kick in the door since it was locked, and that he just wanted to use the bathroom. Pictured above, there's a picture here of the glass broken.
Yeah, relatively normal guy. It's not
Yes.
got like drawn on his face or any weird tattoos. Just a normal looking bald guy with a beard.
He made the claim, his artificial intelligence claim, but it is unclear what role the protruded implant played in the alleged burglary. His residence about 40 miles from the store. He added that he had walked to the Circle K from Illinois. He was arrested for burglary, a felony, and a property damage, a second-degree misdemeanor. He's also charged with stealing property valued at less than $150. Locked up in lieu of the $2,500 bond. He was ordered to have no contact with Circle K and submit to a mental health examination.
Yeah,
if he bonds out. Shocker, this is not his first go-around. Until his parole earlier this year, he was locked up in an Illinois state prison for aggravated robbery, for which he was sentenced to 9 years. His rap sheet also includes multiple felony burglary convictions.
Yeah, they might want to have not maybe let him out of jail.
Yeah. I think the Illinois State Parole Board thinking.
Yeah, it's just about
some second thoughts.
Just about a guarantee you catch somebody in the act of committing a crime and they start their explanation by, now I know you're going to think this is crazy. You are about to hear the craziest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
An AI speaker in my neck. Yeah, that's a new one on me. All right, who wins today?
I don't know.
I think I'm going to lean with the guy who's beat up the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Just fist of fury. And how did his underwear end up in the flares of the fender?
I also think it's funny, like Cybertrucks to like any Tesla vehicle, unless you turn off the feature, they record the surroundings.
Yeah, they do.
Like you got the video of the recording.
Oh yeah, they got him doing that in 4K.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that does work on those things is the surveillance. That thing works without fail.
Yeah.
And everything else might break. You might die in the driver's seat, but that is going to get the surveillance footage. All right, so that'll win. The guy beat up the Cybertruck. That's going to be our winner for today on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a time out here in the program. When we come back, K-State's at least going to a bowl. KU is not. And can they afford for that streak to reach 3 years next year? We'll talk about it next. 4:44 on this Monday. Dan Lucero back with you solo rest of the way here on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for being here. Text line is 785-272-9429. Can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. The Kansas Jayhawks did not achieve bowl eligibility. That in itself is not a surprise. It is not a surprise they lost to Utah 31-21 on Friday at the booth. The surprise came in how they lost because for 3 quarters, KU played really well. They were not able to finish drives, but they were up 14-10. They were on the move early in the fourth quarter. They were about to make it a 21-10 football game. Then Jalen Daniels threw a pick in the end zone. And after Utah, then in less than a minute and a half, drove down the field to take the lead, KU drove back down to regain the lead, and Jalen Daniels threw another interception. And that one turned into a 97-yard touchdown the other way, a 28-point swing. Really? If you thought KU was, it was third down when he threw the pick six. So maybe that's just a 10-point swing there, but 10 to 14-point swings both ways in a 10-point game. I mean, that is the game right there. Those 2 turnovers in scoring range. And there were other opportunities that KU kind of let go by the wayside offensively in that game because they really did have Utah on the ropes, but could not finish. And so KU finishes at 5-7. I've had the opportunity over the years to speak with Jalen Daniels at events like Big 12 Media Days, and I like him. I think he's a good kid. He got a good head on his shoulders. He's a heck of a tough kid. Been through a lot just to get on the field for his last 2 years at Kansas, those injuries that plagued him early in his career. I hate that was his last game, that will be his last memory as a Jayhawk. Those 2 back-breaking interceptions to, in effect, cost his team bowl eligibility and not get that one more chance to win at home and go play. And maybe he wouldn't have played in the bowl game. I don't know. But I hate it for him on a personal level, even if, I mean, the performance is the performance. That's the thing about sports, man. You can't hide. You generally get what you deserve. Over the course of a game, over the course of a season, over a course of a career, you generally get what you deserve. You get what your performance deserves. And JD got what his performance deserved on Friday, but I wish his career had a happier ending because I think maybe not so as much as Devin Neal, but as much as any other player of this Lance Leipold era of Kansas football, Daniels represents a commitment to making the program better. A real firm, long-term commitment to seeing out a project and improving Kansas football and taking it from the laughingstock that it was. And that is not too kind a phrase or too unkind a phrase to use when it pertains to pre-Leipold era KU football. The laughingstock that they were to the respectable program that they are now. Kansas is not a game that you go into now writing a W in pen on your schedule. It's not. And Jalen Daniels is a big, big part of that. And that, to me, is more his legacy than 2 interceptions against Utah. So I wish, in that sense, that there had been a happier ending for Jalen Daniels and for Kansas football. But here's the big question moving forward for KU. Michael Swain will join us tomorrow, our KU insider from Fog.net. We'll get his perspective on this as well. But I remember about a month ago talking to Michael when it became clear that bowl eligibility was not only not a sure thing, which, I mean, I think after the West Virginia game, if you told me that team was going to miss a bowl, I wouldn't have believed it. But when it started to look likely, more likely than not, that they would not go bowling, I remember Michael mentioning, and you look ahead to 2026, when you will not have a veteran quarterback returning. I mean, you'll have upperclassmen, but not guys who played a lot. Not a lot of, we haven't seen a lot of Zeke Marshall or Cole Ballard. You don't have a veteran quarterback returning. You're going to lose some playmaking. You're going to lose some valuable seniors, Dean Miller, Bryce Foster, guys like that. You're going to be playing in a half of a stadium because the continuation of the David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium project will have the entire east side of the stadium torn down next year. There won't be anything there. So you're playing in front of half capacity, a little more than half capacity at your stadium. You got to go to England in the middle of September to play. It does not lend itself. The circumstances of next year do not lend themselves to success. And I do not believe that the expectation next season, outside of the program, is that Kansas will reach a bowl. I think that they will be doing well next year to reach a bowl, and that they'll probably go into next year feeling like about a 4 or 5 win team, 6 at the most. And if they don't win and go to a bowl, that'd be 3 straight years without bowl eligibility. We talked earlier this hour about Kansas State's expectations, but their limited ability to spend, because they don't have right now a David Booth cutting David Booth-sized checks to the program. They don't. KU has David Booth. They got other donors too. But at what point, and this is a question for Kansas State too, but I think certainly for a Kansas program that has invested a lot in the rejuvenation of the football program. It's a lot of money on that field. Like the field, the stadium, the coach, players. It's not Texas Tech money, but there's a lot of money on that field. At what point did the donors start wanting a little bit more ROI than 5 and 7? Kansas might right now look like a situation where, I don't know about a bowl next year. And if they'd gotten to a bowl this year, I think that might have been okay. You might have been able to say, okay, we took a step back. We had some circumstances. We were, we were unsettled at quarterback. We were breaking things in 2026. But in 2027, the stadium will be complete. We'll have our full game day atmosphere back. We won't have to go to England. We'll be in a better position to be a lot more competitive. That's a little easier to swallow if you're not staring down 3 straight years of bowl ineligibility. So a lot can happen, obviously, between now and spring practice, never mind fall practice and the start of the 2026 season. But I do wonder if Kansas acts with a little bit more urgency in the transfer portal. They've done well in the portal. Emmanuel Henderson was a big hit in the portal. Leroy Harris looked at times like KU's best defensive player this year. Big hit out of the portal. Bengali Kamara, when he was on the field, big hit out of the portal. KU's done really, really well. Do they need to go even the extra mile into 2026? Do they need to look at quarterback in the portal for 2026? Because I'm not sure that you can go 3 straight years without a bowl and have the same donors writing the same checks with the same level of enthusiasm. So next year's going to be a big one. And just on its face, it's an uphill climb for KU football. Not as steep as it used to be. Again, there's credit to be had for that. But I don't think a 3rd straight year of bowl ineligibility would sit real well. And I think Kansas is going to have to do a lot this offseason to make sure that doesn't happen. We'll take one more break for this hour. 580 Sports Talk. Come back, wrap up the 4 o'clock hour next here on WIBW. 455 on 580 Sports Talk from the text line, 785-272-9429. Text from the 913. My issue with KU football, only 3 teams were worse this year. UCF, Colorado, and Oklahoma State. Not a good place to be. Yeah, especially not with the investment into Kansas football. They didn't go ahead with the revitalization of the stadium and the area around the stadium and keep Jalen Daniels back for a 6th year to go 5-7. And give Lance Leipold that contract extension to go 5-7. So yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, to be in that class of program. I mean, you look at UCF, it was year 0 for Frost. Oklahoma State, that's the worst situation in the league right now, or at least it was in the final year of Mike Gundy. West Virginia also, I would say KU was distinctly better than West Virginia. They proved it on the field. But West Virginia was trending up at the end of the year. Rich Rod found his quarterback. It was year 0 for him too. And then Colorado, I watched Deion Sanders stand on that sideline in Manhattan on Saturday. And it was 20 degrees. And that man's going to lose a foot. Like, I don't say that flippantly either. Like, he has significant health problems, right? He's beaten cancer. He's got to have the Porta-John on the sideline. He's had toes amputated and may eventually lose the whole foot. Like, that's a possibility. And I know he talked a big game afterwards about this is never going to happen again, and I'm the right man to fix this, and I'm going to fix this. I just wonder why. Deion, why? For what? That's a for who, for what? You want to go take a beating in the Big 12? I mean, he doesn't have any more kids, right, who play football. He doesn't have any more Travis Hunters coming to that program. You want to keep going 4-8, standing there in the cold in November? For who? For what? And get out. Get out while you can still have fun with your life. I just don't understand this for Deion Sanders. I really, really don't. There's a lot of coaching news from college football. We're going to get to all of it in headlines. Plus, we'll talk NFL Week 13 and more in the final hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk, our final hour of the day on this Monday here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero, solo for the rest of the program today, taking you until 6 o'clock. Then we'll pass the baton to the K-State Sports Network from Learfield for some K-State men's basketball. The Wildcats back at Bramlage Coliseum tonight, taking on the Falcons of Bowling Green. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. You can catch it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll follow that with Chiefs Kingdom. We'll play Mitch Holtis in the Chiefs Kingdom show on tape delay following the Wildcat basketball game tonight. Tomorrow night, we got high school basketball. Maybe, if weather allows, we've got high school basketball. Hopefully, they can get the roads cleared and some of this powdery snow will drift away and we can have school tomorrow. I can't believe I'm saying that. I want to apologize to any youngsters out there who are crossing their fingers and hoping for a snow day on a Tuesday. Not like you didn't just get an entire week off, right? I know you parents out there want to send them back to school. I hope there's school tomorrow, because if there's school tomorrow, there's going to be high school basketball tomorrow. That's right. High school basketball is back, hopefully, tomorrow. Tuesday Night Hoops here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Yours truly and the coach, Larry Latimer, on the call as Seaman hosts Piper. Seaman boys and girls both ranked in the top 10 preseason. Piper boys and girls both ranked in the top 10 preseason. So should be two outstanding games at Viking Gymnasium. Looking forward to bringing them both to you. Pre-game coverage approximately 5:15. Leading up to the tip-off of the first game at 5:30. So we'll be a little short on 580 Sports Talk tomorrow ahead of some high school hoops, weather permitting. If there's no school, there will be no game. So hopefully there's school tomorrow, at least in what USD number is Seaman? I guess I can never remember. I know obviously 501. My wife teaches 501. I know that. 347 is rural. I never remember Seaman's USD number. Or Shawnee Heights. I don't even think I know Shawnee Heights for that matter. But if anybody wants to contribute those in the text line, 785-272-9429, or in the YouTube live chat, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, feel free to correct me. One more hour of the show today. Plenty more to discuss. We're going to talk some NFL. The Monday night game tonight, obviously, typically we bring you Monday Night Football here from Westwood One on 580 Sports Talk. Can't do that tonight because of Kansas State basketball. I don't think you're going to miss much. It's the Patriots and the Giants. I will not be making carving out time and space to watch this particular football game. We're 13 weeks into the NFL season. There's still not a clear-cut Super Bowl favorite, and I would argue there is not a clear-cut great team in the NFL. Really don't feel that way. The one team I felt like was closest lost to the Panthers yesterday. Apparently, Matt Stafford in the rain is like a gremlin. He melts. So, that was not good, obviously. And the Bills, if you held a gun to my head and made me pick an AFC champion, I might pick the Bills because I at least trust their quarterback and I at least know they're going to get in the playoffs. Which the other team whose quarterback I trust, it's the Chiefs, and I don't know they're making the playoffs. But the Bills weren't exactly convincing in beating the Steelers. So they still got all the same problems they had. So we'll get into that. We'll talk a little NFL Week 13. And we'll talk some college hoops. K-State's back at home. Did not play well there last time out. KU, I don't know how much time you guys make for Feast Week college basketball during the Thanksgiving week, but if you were a KU fan, you had to love what you saw from the Darren Peterson-less Jayhawks going 3-0 at the Players Era tournament. I have some thoughts on the Players Era as it is, just as an event, but KU, without their best guy, going 3-0 against three major conference teams, including a top 20 team in Tennessee, that's big time. Seemed like they took being dropped from the top 25 personally. So, plenty more of that to get to, plus your text, 785-272-9429, and your texts and your YouTube comments as well on the YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. Thank you to the multiple texters and Vance in the YouTube comments for filling in the blanks for me. Shawnee Heights is 450. Seaman is 345. Thank you. I really did forget. And, I guess I've lived here long enough. You feel like I ought to know that stuff. I should have it cold by now. But, hey, 345. Don't cancel school tomorrow. I want to call some basketball. Do the right thing for the kids, but also consider me. Consider me and my selfish request to get together with my pal Larry Latimer and call some high school basketball. 2 really good games on the docket tomorrow, if we can bring them to you on 580 WIBW. Let's start with the headlines, though, shall we? And we're going to start with something that I made reference to. We were talking about Kansas State football in the 4 o'clock hour. And in the course of the day today, I got the email at 4 o'clock today. The press release from Kansas State Athletics. K-State Athletics to absorb Wildcat NIL efforts, streamline giving opportunities. K-State Athletics and Wildcat NIL have announced the consolidation of NIL efforts and will absorb the roles and responsibilities of Wildcat NIL moving forward in order to centralize and streamline giving opportunities. So before the House settlement, this was kind of how it worked. There were NIL collectives that were recognized by the university, but not operated by the university. Wildcat NIL was operated by a bunch of former K-State student athletes, names that you might be familiar with. Curry Sexton, Pearson McAtee, Ryan Hennington, and Jace Friesen were the 4 former K-State athletes, 3 football players, 1 basketball player, McAtee, who really got Wildcat NIL rolling and were the group that was putting together NIL opportunities for K-State athletes. Well, now with the House settlement, which brings revenue sharing into play, a lot of universities are bringing those exterior NIL arms in-house and making sure that they are the ones who are responsible for putting all of those NIL deals together. So that's what's happening here. Kansas State is absorbing Wildcat NIL. It will now be known as K-State NIL, according to the graphic. So this is the quote from Gene Taylor. As we keep up with the changes in the landscape of college athletics, we believe it's important to have a clear and concise message to our fans and a path forward that will align with our goal of building and sustaining a championship program. So, more from Taylor in the press release. As college athletics evolves, we must keep up and be proactive. Bringing all our NIL initiatives in-house allows us to streamline our messaging and approach to fully fund the revenue sharing cap while also leveraging opportunities for student athletes to earn true third-party NIL with businesses. So, to put all of this simply, there will be flexibility for K-State donors and supporters to contribute to the revenue sharing cap for Kansas State athletics. Your money to the university, to the players. And 3 different ways to do that. There's the Ahern Fund and the Fighting Ever Fighting Excellence campaign, which was recently launched. And the Fighting Ever Fighting campaign is built upon philanthropic gifts to the Ahern Excellence Fund. And you give, those can be tax deductible, potentially, those donations, and you get some nice perks for donating there. There's also true third-party NIL opportunities subject to approval via NIL Go. If you maybe own a business or you want to, run a camp, something like that, you can engage directly with athletes in those third-party NIL opportunities in conjunction with what's called NIL Go. And then there's Cats Plus, which will be launched in January, a new subscription-based service that will provide fans a direct path to support Wildcat student athletes while also seeing benefits in return. The service, available on a monthly or yearly plan, will include behind-the-scenes access, special features highlighting K-State student athletes and coaches via videos, podcasts, and special articles written by D. Scott Fritchen, early access to digital and product-based items, exclusive digital content, classic game replays, and enter-to-win sweepstakes for experiences and products. So you subscribe to Cats Plus, presumably like you'd subscribe to any other streaming service you got, and your money goes directly again to the NIL fund for Kansas State University. You get some goodies that probably, light your fire if you're a Kansas State fan. So that is the announcement today from Kansas State Athletics. The tagline, new era, same mission. The Hearn Fund, Cats Plus, and K-State NIL via NIL Go. How donors and supporters can directly engage with the athletic department and help fill the coffers for NIL. That's the news coming out of Manhattan today. Some other college sports news. NCAA volleyball championships coming up. And both KU and K-State are dancing. The Jayhawks will be at home for the first 2 rounds of the tournament. They get the opportunity to host. I do not for the life of me know why I'm looking at the 2024 bracket right now. That doesn't do me a lot of good. But Kansas is the number 4 seed in the Lincoln Regional. They will play High Point in their first match of the tournament on Thursday. The other match in Lawrence will be the number 5 seed Miami taking on Tulsa. Kansas State got the 9 seed in the same regional. So they'll be in Lincoln playing on Friday afternoon. They'll take on the number 8 seed in the region, San Diego. And if they beat the Toreros, they will take on either Nebraska, the number 1 national seed, or Long Island, which is to say Nebraska. Nebraska's undefeated and are probably going to win the whole thing. They were 30-0 in one of the best leagues in America. The other number 1 seeds are Texas, Pitt, and who's the other one? Kentucky, featuring a former Washburn Rural star, Brooklyn DeLay. So lots of good volleyball coming up, and you'll be able to watch on ESPN, Family Networks, ESPN Plus, all that good stuff. I'm excited. I really enjoy the tournament, and good year for both KU and K-State. Congratulations to both programs for making it in. Also, congratulations to Washburn women's soccer. They are going to the Elite Eight. They are the Central Region champions. They beat St. Cloud State 1-0 over the weekend. So they move on to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament. This is supposed to be a rebuilding year for Washburn soccer. That's not how Davy Phillips and that program rolls. They're going to play Missouri St. Louis on Saturday for a spot in the Final Four. Congrats to Washburn women's soccer. Let's move on to some other college athletics news. I mentioned briefly the AP Top 25 in men's basketball. KU, of course, went into last week unranked. Well, there's a new AP Top 25 poll this week, and Kansas isn't unranked anymore. They're up to number 21 in the country following their 3-0 showing at the Players Era Invitational. Purdue remains number 1 team in the country, followed by Arizona. Michigan rises to number 3. They actually have more first-place votes than Arizona. They got 15 first-place votes. They beat the heck out of everybody in Las Vegas. They were up 43 on Gonzaga at one point, and Gonzaga's good. Gonzaga moved up a spot in the top 25, despite taking it on the chin from Michigan. But, Michigan's really, really outstanding. They are number 3 in the country. Duke and UConn round out the top 5. UConn, of course, coming to Allen Fieldhouse tomorrow night. More about that game tomorrow on the show. Louisville stays number 6. Michigan State up to number 7. Houston drops 5 spots after being handed their first loss of the season by Tennessee. They are ranked 8th. BYU, number 9. Iowa State also went 3-0 at the Players Era. They are undefeated, and they are number 10 in the country. So that is 4 Big 12 teams in the top 10. Gonzaga, Alabama, Tennessee, Illinois, Florida, 11 through 15. 16 through 20, North Carolina, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Texas Tech, and Auburn. And then 21 through 25, Kansas, Indiana, St. John's, USC, and Arkansas. UCLA and North Carolina State dropped out of the poll this week. That is your latest AP men's college basketball top 25. As for the college football top 25, no surprise, Ohio State remains number 1. They finally got one over on Michigan after a 4-year drought in that series. Let's never forget how funny that was, that Michigan beat them last year with 62 yards passing. They had 67 yards passing in this year's game, and they lost 27-9. Things are a little different. Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2. Those 2 teams playing, of course, for the Big Ten championship game on Saturday. Georgia, Oregon, Texas Tech round out your top 5. Texas Tech back into the top 5. They play BYU for the conference title in Arlington on Saturday afternoon. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama rounding out your top 10. BYU's 11th. Miami, Vanderbilt, Texas, and Utah, 12 through 15. Virginia, USC, Michigan, James Madison, and North Texas, 16 through 20. The rest of the top 25, Tulane, Arizona, Navy, Georgia Tech, and Mizzou. Arizona, Navy, and Mizzou new to the poll this week. Tennessee, Pitt, and SMU drop out. All right, let's go to the college football coaching carousel because there is a lot happening and I have lots of thoughts. Lane Kiffin is a new coach at LSU. He was formally introduced today in Baton Rouge. That means he will not be the coach of the Ole Miss Rebels as they move forward into the college football playoff. The Rebels will almost certainly be one of the 12 teams that get invited due to their number 6 national ranking and their 11-1 overall record. Lane Kiffin, very good at making things all about himself. Very good at being the center of attention. Very good at angering and annoying people wherever he goes. Don't think he's left anywhere other than Florida Atlantic on good terms in his entire adult life as a football coach. And really, he left Florida Atlantic on good terms because he took the Ole Miss job. And at Florida Atlantic, yeah, that's one of those where it's like, okay, yeah, we'd have loved to kept the guy, but we understand. But remember that press conference Al Davis gave when he fired him as the coach of the Raiders? Remember when he dipped out after a year at Tennessee? Remember he got fired on the tarmac? That's where the term tarmac comes from. You get tarmac, you get fired before you can get on the plane. That happened to Lane Kiffin at USC. Remember when Nick Saban cut him loose before the national championship game as his offensive coordinator at Alabama? 1 game left and he cut him loose. Could not stand to have him around any longer. And now Ole Miss fans are the next in a long line of those who will feel victimized by Lane Kiffin. But you hear Lane Kiffin tell it, no, he's the victim here because he wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to coach Ole Miss in the playoff, but he also wanted to go to LSU. And by the way, look, just on its face, leaving Ole Miss for LSU, that's an upgrade. Lane Kiffin's done great things at Ole Miss. Probably gotten that program as high as it can go. But you can win national championships at LSU. You're not doing that at Ole Miss. You're not. This is the ceiling for Ole Miss football. The LSU ceiling is natties, undefeated natties. There's an argument it's the best job in America in terms of tradition and buy-in and fan support and access to talent and commitment from donors. LSU's as good as it gets. I don't blame Lane Kiffin for wanting that job. But all the mewling about, well, we prayed on it, and we really wanted to stay and coach Ole Miss, but unfortunately I don't get to do that. Yeah, you don't get to do that. What other program in America would let a conference rival's head coach just hang out in their building for 2 weeks? It's nuts. Like the other coaches who are leaving Power 5 jobs or group of 6 jobs for Power 4 jobs, and we'll get to those in a minute. Those coaches are getting to stay on because there's an understanding from those other programs. Look, there's no shame in having Eric Morris keep coaching North Texas. No shame. There's no risk in that for us. There is risk for Ole Miss letting LSU's head coach be in the building. Get out of our building. Not only are you coaching in our same conference, you are coaching one of our biggest rivals, and you want to hang out? You don't get to have your cake and eat it too, Lane. And you're not the victim for not getting to have your cake and eat it too. That's not how this works. And man, miss me with the after much prayer and reflection. Nah, dog, you saw the bag and you saw it was a better job and you took it. And there's no shame in doing that. No shame in improving your standing in your coaching career. Just don't lie to me. Don't hide behind God, man. Don't do that. I hate when coaches do that. Do not hide behind the Bible. Do not hide behind God. You made the call. You made the call. Live with the consequences of your actions. But again, this is not me blaming Lane Kiffin for deciding what he decided. I think any other coach in his situation would have made the same choice. It's just only Lane Kiffin would have been this big a drama queen about it. He is who he is. The other hire I've got big opinions on. Michigan State fired Jonathan Smith after 2 pretty lousy seasons at the helm in East Lansing. Jonathan Smith had done some good work at Oregon State, had them in the top 25 in the last year before the Pac-12 dissolved, and then left that program, took a bunch of their players, went to East Lansing, didn't win any games. They won a few games, but you get the point. Didn't really work out. Michigan State decided to move on. They owed Jonathan Smith a pretty good chunk of money. Fine. Don't blame Michigan State for firing Jonathan Smith. They are hiring former Northwestern head coach Pat Fitzgerald. That appears to be a done deal. Pat Fitzgerald is going to be the next head coach at Michigan State. In fact, not only is it is such a done deal that there's a story about it on the Michigan State website. So that's done. Pat Fitzgerald spent a long time as the head coach at his alma mater, Northwestern. He was head coach there from 2006 to 2023. In case you do not recall why he is no longer the head coach at Northwestern, he was first suspended and then fired after an independent investigation in the summer of 2023 confirmed allegations made by a player in November of 2022 that hazing, including assaults by varsity players, occurred while Fitzgerald was aware and made hand gestures that indicated that freshman players should be physically and sexually assaulted for poor performance. Fitzgerald was fired 3 days following his suspension amid those allegations. Now, there was a whole legal to-do that followed, and in the eyes of the law, Pat Fitzgerald was found to have done nothing wrong. So there's nothing legal here that keeps Pat Fitzgerald from being a coach at Michigan State or anywhere else. Like, in the eyes of the law, Pat Fitzgerald did nothing wrong because the Fitzgerald side was able to convince I don't know if it went to arbitration or if it went to court, how exactly that story ended. But it was ultimately that Fitzgerald was believed when he said he had no idea that anything like the hazing was going on in his program, that he didn't know and that he shouldn't be held responsible. And a court did not find him responsible I believe it was a civil lawsuit. So the court didn't find him responsible for what was going on in his program. Here's the problem I have, though, with that. So you're so clueless as to what's going on in your own program that you're willing to get on the stand and admit that you're so clueless about what's going on in your program that you don't know kids are being hazed, you don't know kids are being physically assaulted, you don't know kids are being sexually assaulted, you don't know any of that's going on. Why would I hire that guy to run my program? Especially when Pat Fitzgerald's whole thing is not, oh, he's an offensive genius, or, oh, he's a defensive mastermind. No, Pat Fitzgerald's whole thing was he's a leader of men. Rock-jawed, solid leader of men. Pat Fitzgerald. That's why you make him your head coach, because he's a leader. He's a leader of men. He's such a leader of men that kids are getting hazed behind his back and he knows nothing about it. But I'm shocked to find out there's any of that going on in this establishment. What kind of leader of men are you if you don't know that's happening? Unless you actually did know it was happening and you lied on the stand and you got away with it. It's one of the two. Neither of those things looks good. I wouldn't touch that guy with a 99.5-foot pole. But Michigan State brought him in because, well, Michigan State doesn't mind a little bit of controversy. Go look up Mark D'Antonio's entire coaching career. What kind of players he was bringing into the program? What kind of environment Mark D'Antonio was fostering with the players he brought in to that program? It was just shy of Baylor, frankly. So Michigan State doesn't care. All they want to do is beat Michigan. Good thing Pat Fitzgerald went 1-9 against Michigan as the head coach at Northwestern. But it's Northwestern. Nobody wins there. He had 3 double-digit win seasons at Northwestern. Yeah, good for him. You know what he did in his last 2 years there? Went 4-20. 4-20. Well, yeah, but it's Northwestern. Nobody wins there. Program didn't get better after he left. Well, actually, yeah, it did. Like, the next guy is still winning. I don't even know who the next guy. David Braun, I think is his name. The new coach, the guy who took over. Yeah, David Braun. They were 4-20 in Fitzgerald's last 2 years. You know what they did in 2023? They went 8-5, went to a bowl game. Yeah, they went 4-8 last year. They're going to a bowl game this year, 6-6. 2 bowl games in 3 years. Pat Fitzgerald is not a magician. Pat Fitzgerald is not a leader of men. Pat Fitzgerald is just a guy who got away on the stand with some pretty low stuff. And I think that we live in a culture where people are mad when people they like and respect are revealed to maybe kind of be a little bit creepy or a little bit below board, and they just don't think there should be consequences for those actions. So Pat Fitzgerald is back in major conference football. I look forward to watching him fail at Michigan State. Other coaching changes. The big one today, Bob Chesney going from James Madison to UCLA. I think it's a really good hire by UCLA. That's a hard job, but Chesney has won everywhere he has gone, including following up Curt Cignetti's effort at JMU by getting them to the cusp of maybe a college football playoff berth. Alex Golesh, the former coach at USF, is going to go to Auburn. I think it's a good hire for Auburn. John Sumrall leaves Tulane to go to Florida. Florida hired a Group of 6 coach from the state of Louisiana. Surely that won't go wrong twice in a row. Ryan Silverfield goes from Memphis to Arkansas. I don't know who's happier about that hire, Arkansas fans or Memphis fans, to be rid of Ryan Silverfield. That should tell you something. Be very wary there. Oklahoma State has their guy. It's North Texas's Eric Morris. I think that's a really nice hire for them. Colorado State has hired Jim Mora Jr. after he won 9 games at UConn this year. And Stanford today made official that they have picked a full-time head coach after Frank Reich was the interim this season. It'll be Tavita Pritchard, the former Stanford quarterback who was the quarterback's coach of the Washington Commanders until last night. And now he's the head coach at Stanford. One job that is still open, and there is a lot of buzz around right now. I know we're running long on headlines, but I did want to talk about this today too. Brett McMurphy of On3 is reporting that Penn State is locked in on BYU head coach Kalani Sitake as their top target in their coaching search. That is fascinating for me. I think Sitake's a really good coach. I think the reason that BYU has been as successful as they have been in the Big 12 since they joined the league is they have an identity and they play to their identity in a way that I think most programs in the Big 12 have not, really in the last 2 years. If there's been any team in the Big 12 the last 2 seasons that when you lined up against them, you knew exactly what you were going to get every time out, it was BYU. They know who they are. And Kalani Sitake's been very, very successful at BYU. He's got him in the conference championship game this year. Penn State can probably pay him more, though I'm not sure it's a lot more. There's a lot of money in the banana stand at BYU. Ask AJ Dibansa. I know the donor class at BYU likes basketball better than they like football, but like if it's a money thing, I kind of think BYU can come up with the money to at least make Sitake the kind of offer that would keep him, home, keep him where he's been. I understand why he's an attractive head coaching hire. I think it's a fascinating cultural experiment for Penn State to get a guy in Sitake who's never coached really outside of the West Coast and bring him to the Northeast from BYU. Ask Virginia how well that worked with Bronco Mendenhall. But the thing with BYU, I got to believe they're desperate to keep Sitake, because here's the thing about the BYU gig. You have to be card-carrying LDS to be the head coach of BYU. It'd be a card that is literal. There is a literal card, a card-carrying member of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints to be the head coach of the BYU football program. You know how many other football coaches there are that are card-carrying LDS members? It's not a long list. Bronco Mendenhall, been there, done that. He's still kicking around coaching. Kyle Whittingham, he's card-carrying LDS. If he's leaving Utah, it's for the beach. Ken Niumatalolo, that would make some sense. He's won some games. He was successful at Navy for a long time. He's at San Jose State now. That's it. That's it. And there are not a lot of hotshot coordinators or obvious successors on the BYU staff. Like, if they don't keep Sitake, I don't know where that program goes, but I don't think it's anywhere real good. I think this is a leverage play by Sitake. He's pretty underpaid relative to his peers. He's only making $3 million a year. Only $3 million a year, I know, but only $3 million a year. I think this is a leverage play. I think this is to squeeze more money out of BYU, and I think BYU will come up off it. I think even if they can't exactly match Penn State's largesse, they can, I think, get close enough to keep Satake and Provo. And I hope they do for the sake of the Big 12 Conference, because I don't know what BYU football looks like without him, but I know it doesn't look like what it looks like right now. We'll take a break. Those were long headlines. We'll come back. We'll talk a little NFL Week 13 after this on 580 Sports Talk. Two other notes from the college football coaching carousel real quick that I didn't get to somehow in one of the longest headline segments in the history of 580 Sports Talk. Kentucky fired Mark Stoops today. Of all the programs out there who looked at the rather crowded field of upper crust college football programs who needed to hire a head coach and said, you know what, we're going to sit this hiring cycle out. We're going to live with the results of next year. Schools like South Carolina and Wisconsin, Florida State, just to name a few. I can't believe Kentucky is out there like, oh yeah, we can wade in these waters and find a better coach than Mark Stoops. Yeah, a little too big for your britches, Kentucky. Be careful what you wish for. And Oregon State's also looking for a new head coach. They fired Trent Bray. There are reports out there that they are going to hire Jamarcus Shepard, who is currently the co-offensive coordinator at Alabama. A well-traveled coaching career. He was previously at Washington, so he's worked with Kalen DeBoer for quite a while. Jamarcus Shepard, I only bring him up for one reason. Maybe you can guess what it is as I'm winding up to this. Jamarcus Shepard is a 2005 graduate of DePauw University in Greencastle, Indiana. His senior season was my freshman year. He was a first-team All-SCAC wide receiver, two-time All-American return man, and a member of the DePauw University Football Hall of Fame. Jamarcus Shepard might get a head coaching job in the Pac-12, and I think that would be awesome. That's what we do at DePauw. Uncommon success. Shout out to Jamarcus Shepard. Great, great player. His senior year, my freshman year of college, we didn't throw the ball like at all. They had 95 completed passes in 10 games that season. He caught 47 of them. He was awesome, man. Great player. All accounts, great dude. And I'll be rooting for Oregon State football if Jamarcus ends up the head coach there. Anyway, that was self-indulgent. I apologize. Let's talk some football. Let's talk some college football, NFL football. We've done enough college. Let's talk some NFL football. Earlier this year, jokingly, we did a segment on this show where the premise was nobody's going to win the Super Bowl. And here's why all these teams that we think are good actually are bad and are not going to win the Super Bowl. And we ran through like everybody who had a winning record and everybody who had like good Super Bowl odds. I think it was like 4 weeks into the season. This is why nobody's going to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, they're going to play a game. It would be really bad for TV ratings if they didn't. They're going to play a Super Bowl 60. They're going to give out a Lombardi trophy. But I'm on Matt Verderame's side. We had our NFL insider, Matt Verderame, on the program in the 3 o'clock hour today. And he said, it could be one of the weakest champions in recent memory. It could be a team that whoever wins Super Bowl this year would have been a team that lost in the wild card round in previous years. It appears to be where we're heading. And it's so bizarre. I think if you and your buddies sitting around a table, sitting on a bar, talking football before the season started, if you were to have been asked, who are the top 5 teams in the NFL in August? Who are the 5 best teams going to be this year? I think the consensus would have been, in some order, Chiefs, Bills, Lions, Ravens, Eagles. It would have been a good place to start, right? Like, even if that wouldn't have been exactly your top 5, you would have had 1 or 2 of those teams just outside your top 5. I think that was my top 5. Like, I don't remember what my top 5 was back in August, but I think that might have been it. And every one of those teams has significant issues. The Bills probably feel the best of that group right now because they just beat up on the Steelers, and they did. Like, that game was not as close as the score indicated. That was belt to ass for 60 minutes. The Steelers are a joke. Aaron Rodgers bleeding from his nose, telling his wide receivers to show up to meetings, being real passive-aggressive in press conferences, playing with a broken non-throwing hand. That's just a mess. They're chanting "Fire Tomlin" at Acrisure Stadium. Just do something else. It's time for the Steelers to do something, anything else. But the Bills, they have Josh Allen, and they have James Cook, who's playing great, but their defense is still leaky. Their pass rush still has problems. It's not a great football team. Like, that is plain when you watch them, that there have been much better recent vintage versions of the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens and the Chiefs are both 6-6, and both kind of looking a little cooked. We talked at the top of the show about the Chiefs. Just feels like it was an alarm in a way that we haven't seen an alarm go off for the Chiefs in a long time, for them to have a game where Patrick Mahomes plays brilliantly and they still lose. And that suggests that maybe this hole that has been dug for the Chiefs is too much to dig out of, even for the best player in football. The Ravens, like, Lamar Jackson is not 100%. They, very much like the Chiefs, have suffered a bit of talent drain. There's been some brain drain from their coaching staff, too, in recent years. That feels kind of stale in some ways, too, on offense, in some of the same ways that the Chiefs have kind of come to feel stale. But the Ravens might still win their division. Like, they probably will win that division. Who the hell else is going to win the AFC North? Not the Steelers. The Eagles over in the NFC, they're a circus. They lost to the Bears. I still don't know what to make of the Bears. I don't think they're bad, but I certainly don't think they're good. I kind of put them into a beneficiary of circumstance bucket that you put the Patriots and the Broncos in. Like, yeah, those are good teams, but they're not like 9-3, 10-2 good. You put them up against a first place schedule and things would look a lot different. The Lions could miss the playoffs. The Lions have some issues. I think Dan Campbell taking over the play calling duties has been a train wreck. And now they're going to miss Amon-Ra St. Brown for an extended period, potentially. They were going to bring Frank Ragnow back, their all-pro center, to fix their interior offensive line, which has been terrible all season. And then they found out that Ragnow had a grade 3 hamstring strain. That's basically like you don't even have a hamstring. It's so damaged. And he was going to try and play. What a guy. You shouldn't be shocked. The guy who played a whole season with a fractured throat was going to try and play with no hamstring. But obviously, he's not coming back because he failed his physical. Lions have problems. That's a brain drain situation. Like Aaron Glenn's first year as a head coach is not going well. Ben Johnson's obviously going a little better there in Chicago. But that coaching staff had it clicking. And Dan Campbell is one of those program CEOs. It's not his thing to be the offensive genius or the defensive genius. He's trying to be the offensive guy right now. It's not working. So all of those teams have sort of given way to these teams that are at the top of the standings that nobody trusts. Because how do you win a championship in the NFL? You got to have the quarterback, and you got to have elite talent elsewhere on the field. Elite talent. Patriots have the quarterback. They don't have elite talent. The Broncos have some elite talent. They emphatically do not have the quarterback. I don't know what the Bears have. I certainly don't think it's enough elite talent. I'm still a Caleb Williams believer, but I don't think he's there yet. Not in the same way that Drake May is. Like, the Lions have a quarterback you can trust who's been to a Super Bowl, won a lot of playoff games, and they have upper-level talent. They're not making it happen right now. The Eagles have the upper-level talent and a championship quarterback. They're not making it happen right now. The Bills have the quarterback. Do they have enough high-end talent outside of James Cook? I don't know. The Chiefs have the quarterback. Not enough high-end talent. The Ravens have a shell of the quarterback. So it's all made for a very topsy-turvy year in the National Football League. I really do. Like, if the Chiefs win out and they make the playoffs, I will still pick them to win the Super Bowl. Them or Buffalo right now. As flawed as those teams are, because at the end of the day, you got to have the quarterback. You have to. And like, New England does, but he's so young and unproven in those situations. Denver doesn't. Chicago doesn't yet. You got to pick the team with the quarterback. When you get to January, it's just some of those quarterbacks might be watching from home. We'll take a quick break. We got some college basketball thoughts real quick on the other side of this timeout. 580 Sports Talk. Got about 10 minutes left here on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to hand the baton to the K-State Sports Network at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. K-State basketball in action tonight against Bowling Green, 7 o'clock tip. Wildcats are on a losing streak. They lost that 1-point heartbreaker to Nebraska in the championship of the Hall of Fame Classic. Then got run off the floor by Indiana in Bloomington on Tuesday night. And I don't think necessarily there's any shame in that, because I think Indiana is good. They've got good players. But we saw firsthand what it looks like when K-State doesn't go crazy from three-point land and fill up the score sheet on offense. Early returns, that's the big question right now. Can they win a slugfest? Can they win a low-scoring game? That was not a good opening indication from Kansas State that they are capable of that. They are 54th in the KenPom right now, 55 in the net rating. They take on a Bowling Green team that is 138 in the Ken Palm tonight. So Tangang ought to be able to get back on track. I just need to find the offense, start better. The last two games, they've started very slowly as well. So looking for a better start from them in a game. That's not endemic. Like, they didn't start poorly against Mississippi State. They won that game by a lot, but in their two losses, they have started very slowly. Have to get off to a bit of a better start after a nearly week-long layoff tonight. KU had as good a week as any men's basketball program in the country last week at the Players Era Invitational. They won all of their games to beat Notre Dame, to beat Syracuse, and then they won the third place game, beat Tennessee, which was a really impressive win. It was all the more impressive by the fact that they did not have Darren Peterson. And what you hope is that the guys over the last four games in which Peterson has not played, like Trey White, Melvin Council, and Elmarco Jackson, who was one of the best players on the floor in a game against the top 20 team. Best game in Elmarco's career by far. You need those guys to move forward with that same level of confidence. Also, Flory Badunga is playing like one of the top big men in the whole country. Like, really starting to hit his high marks. It's fun to watch Flory right now on both ends because he is really starting to understand how dominant, I think, that he can be. One quick thought about the Players Era Invitational. Like, I know it's good for the programs and it's good for the players because they get money, they get paid, and I'm all about the players should make money. But those games sucked to watch because there was no atmosphere. Like, I would rather watch the Maui Invitational over that 10 times out of 10. But you have to pay to play in Maui. $400,000. I think this was CJ Moore, friend of the program, who pointed this out on social media. It was either him or Matt Norlander. Sometimes I get the two confused on social media because I think they're both really insightful. So I don't want to misattribute this, but it was one of those two. I'm almost positive. It cost the program $400,000 to go to Maui. You can win $1 million in the Players Era. So you either go to the Players Era and make enough money to pay your second leading scorer, or you can spend what it would cost you to get a sixth man on your program and go to Maui. Like, what are you going to choose? Obviously, if you're a big deal program, you're going to choose the Players Era. But the atmosphere sucked. It was like an NCAA tournament game where they hadn't opened it, like the third game of that first session day, where they haven't opened the gates. And people are straggling coming back in between games 2 and 3, but they start that third game anyway, and the stands are like a quarter full, and it felt like that for the whole game. I hated it as a spectator, as a viewing experience. It sucked, which is too bad because like the basketball was really high level, the teams were really good, the games were good that I got to see, but the atmosphere stunk. It's nothing compared to Maui, and I think it's too bad. We'll take a timeout. Come back with a final word after this. We are wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Andy Reid spoke to the media earlier today in Kansas City, his usual game week Monday press conference. Says he still believes his team is going to make the playoffs. I would hope that would be the case. Said, quote, "We're going to try to tickle your tonsils." That's what he wants his team to do. He wants them to tickle your tonsils. I hate that metaphor very much. I was a happier person in life before I knew that that was a metaphor that existed. I don't like it. It does not sit well with my soul. I don't think effort is the problem for the Chiefs. I don't think they're playing like they don't want it. I don't think they don't have the desire. I just don't think they're good enough. I would not have said that before Thursday. Because if they were good enough, that effort by Patrick Mahomes against the Cowboys would have been good enough to win that game. And it wasn't. Because they're too penalty prone, and they're too injured, and they're too talent deficient in important spots. And they absolutely cannot impact the quarterback. And how the Chiefs got there and what they can do to get out of there and in a hurry for the rest of Patrick Mahomes' prime, well, that's a job for the offseason. But like Mahomes said, there's only one thing left to do now, and that's win the rest of your games. That's where the Chiefs find themselves. K-State basketball is next. We're back tomorrow from 3 until high school basketball. My name is Dan Lucero. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.